Jeff Chan, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So first off, congratulations on your ONE FC debut. You got the rear naked choke submission. How'd that feel?
It felt great. I mean, I was expecting to win the fight by striking, but I'll take the win.
Nice. That was your first submission victory in a pro fight, correct?
No, it would be my second. My
Okay,
second, yeah.
nice. One thing I wanted to ask you about. So, have you heard of Jeff Chang?
Jeb, yeah, I have
Have you ever
six
been
pack shortcut.
mistaken for him?
I think people joke around and call me Jeff Chang, but
Yeah,
no one has actually mistaken. He's like twice my size.
yeah. I was just wondering because you guys are both kind of YouTube stars, jacked Asian guys with very similar names.
Yeah, I've heard his name definitely. I don't think he's really on YouTube anymore. He's like sold his company.
Okay, nice. Um, so what was it like competing in a closed event with ONE FC in February?
You know what? I think it actually played to my advantage because apparently my opponent was Singapore's hometown hero, and I heard there are a lot of Singaporeans that wanted him to win. So, not that there would have been boos, I don't know, but if there were, that may have affected me. But because it was a closed door event, I couldn't hear anything if there were any boos. And I'm very used to being on camera and fighting in front of a crowd, a small crowd at least. So it
Mhm.
worked out for me.
Nice. Um, I actually, I think I met your buddy one time. This guy Larry in Diamond Muay Thai.
Okay,
Uh,
I know Larry.
a few years ago, we'd been training in Copenhagen, Thailand, and he said he knew you. And then later on, I was working at Thai Fusion, and
Okay.
he came in, I think, with
Mhm.
you, and it was just such a small world. Uh,
Wait, Forti Fusion in Ottawa
yeah,
or
yeah, in Barhaven. I'm from
okay.
Ottawa.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, he came to visit me one time, I think maybe like a year ago. Two years ago maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so, what's next for your career?
Honestly, I'm just playing it by ear, taking one fight at a time. I mean, they did offer me a fight after my first fight, but then obviously due to COVID-19, all the events have been closed. So right now I'm just, waiting for COVID-19 to go away, for the lockdown to lift at least, to get back into training and take it one day at a time.
Nice.
I mean, my main priority is making content on YouTube, so I'm still keeping up with that, even though I'm, locked down at home.
Okay. Yeah, I'd read an interview with you, and it said, like, unlike most people who are wanting to become the champion or be the best, you are more concerned with becoming the best version of yourself. Um,
Exactly.
so, one thing I was wondering is what exactly would you say would be the best version of yourself?
Just as long as I have an open mind and I'm always growing as a person, being a martial artist is not only being good at fighting, but just becoming a better person. But in regards to martial arts, just getting better, stronger, faster, sharper, learning, just always learning.
Yeah.
And, you know, in my opinion, I don't think it's possible to be the best in the world. There's always going to be someone that will catch up to you. There's always someone younger than you. So to be the best is, in my opinion, not possible. So as long as I'm the best version of myself, I'm satisfied.
Nice. Um, and uh, having that kind of mindset, I feel like ONE FC is an awesome fit for you because I know um, Chatri Sityadtong, he kind of doesn't like the UFC's approach to promotion where they kind of highlight the worst aspects of martial arts. And I was watching an interview, he said uh, UFC is more like a fight where ONE FC is more about the true martial arts and the self-improvement. Um,
You cut out there. Can you repeat that one more time?
I was just saying how Sit Tong, his promotion style is more about becoming the best version of yourself and highlighting the best aspects of martial arts and using it kind of as like a means of bettering society. And whereas UFC is more focused on the trash talk and kind of highlights the uh, not as good aspects of martial arts.
I totally agree. UFC, there's a lot of trash talk, and I'm sure most of the UFC fighters are actual nice people in person,
Yeah,
but they get paid to trash talk and hype themselves up. Like I heard Conor McGregor is a super nice guy in person, but obviously trash talks, and it worked for him. Me personally, suck at trash talking. I don't like trash talking, and I'm happy that with one championship they don't expect it nor do they want it.
yeah,
So yeah, I believe it's a good fit for me.
nice. Yeah, it's really weird when certain UFC fighters who you can tell are genuinely nice people are kind of like trying to put on a facade to kind of sell the fight. It's a bit of a weird thing.
Yeah, sometimes it's just awkward.
Yeah, it takes away from the martial arts
Yeah.
itself. Um, so also another thing I want to talk about is ONE FC has a bit of a different approach to weight cutting. From my understanding, they
Mhm.
test your hydration levels. Um, can you tell us a bit
Yep.
about that?
So first, I'd like to say that it's a great system. I like it so much more than any other fight promotion. I think they're the only fight promotion that does that. So I'm in the bantamweight class, and in any other bantamweight, it's 135 on the dot. For one championship, it's 135 to 145. So I can be anywhere between 135 and 145. But the only thing is I cannot cut any water weight. Now, when I normally cut to 135 in other organizations, I would diet down to about 143 and then water cut to 135. And by then I'm like, my face is all sucked up.
Yeah,
With one championship, not only do I only have to diet down to 145, I don't need to cut any water at all. So I feel much better. It's a much easier process. It can be a bit tricky though, not tricky, but you have to be hydrated. So
yeah,
luckily I passed my hydration test, but I actually came close to failing the hydration test because I wasn't sure, how hydrated you need to be or what's considered hydrated. And I know there are two fighters who, like one of the co-main events, who they failed the hydration test, and they're like veterans in the sport.
yeah.
And it's just simply because we didn't understand how hydrated you needed to be.
I see. Do you think the UFC will ever implement a similar system, or that they should?
They definitely should. I don't think they will. I think they like what they're doing right now, and yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I do wrestling, so it's a huge part of the sport, and like I honestly think it's the worst part of the sport personally. Uh, anyways, speaking of wrestling, you recently switched camps to Faraz Hobby's camp, TriStar. How are you liking it there?
I love it there. I mean, right now I'm back at home in Ottawa because all the gyms are closed. But
Yeah.
so far, I've visited a few times, and then I did my fight camp there. So I
Okay.
haven't been there too long. I'd say a total of 3-4 months I've been training there. Once the gyms are open again, I do plan on going back to Montreal and training with Faraz Zahabi under at TriStar. But yeah, they have really good wrestling. I would say, a grappling based gym. You can really improve your grappling game there. Um, and it's great for pro fighters because it's just like the mecca of MMA. They have fighters from all over the world visiting all the time, and there's just tons of partners and bodies to spar with, especially at your weight class.
Nice. So, did you have a wrestling background before you started doing MMA?
I didn't. A lot of people think that I do, but I think I just naturally have a double egg. And the truth is, it's just that double and single that I'm good at.
Yeah.
But I learned my wrestling through just training jiu-jitsu.
Okay. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
was really impressed by your wrestling in your ONE FC debut.
Thank you. Thank
No
you.
worries. So, what are your thoughts on Chatri Sityad Tong and his kind of approach to promotion, doing it more from that kind of holistic standpoint and promoting those better aspects of martial arts?
I love it. And I see, not only do I love it, I see a lot of people as well can see the good in him. And it's great because he focuses a lot on the fighters. Like if you compare UFC and one championship, when their fighters walk out of the ring to walk into the cage, there's lights flashing, and it's just a huge scene, and they make a really big deal for their fighters, and they also promote their fighters all the time on their social media. I'm a very new fighter for them, but they've been promoting me a lot. Um, and no other organization has ever promoted me through their channel besides one championship.
I'd seen a video of him doing like a kind of pre-fight prep talk, like pep talk to his athletes. Did you receive one of those before your event, or did they kind of have to?
I actually did, yeah. So
Okay,
surprisingly, it was my debut, and he came up to me and he, put a shoulder on me and told me like, good luck, just be yourself, don't be nervous, and you're gonna kill it. There's actually a video of it I posted on my Instagram of that, and it means a lot. And it's special that the CEO, the owner, would come up to me, who's I'm not a big name, and he'd come up to me and talk to me and tell me that.
that's awesome. So on social media and on your YouTube, you respond to all the comments, all the DMs. That's actually how we got in touch. Uh, how do you find the time to do that? And why is your fans and audience so important to you?
Well, I mean, first of all, I started this channel because I like helping others. I like interacting with others. Obviously, there are those who leave negative comments or ask inappropriate questions, and those are the people I don't want to respond to. But if I see that someone is genuine, there's never a time where I won't respond. I'll try to help as much as I can. Um, what was the first question?
Uh,
How do I find the time to
yeah,
answer? Oh, sorry. Honestly, as bad as it sounds, I usually have my phone on me quite often. Like my phone's right beside me, and if I get a ding, if I hear a ding on my phone, I'll respond. And if I'm responding right away, it's really not that bad. Now, I release, like, for example, I release a video on Saturdays, every Saturday, once a week, and uh, I'll make sure that that day I will have the webpage open to my comments and kind of respond as the day goes on. Whereas if a Saturday goes by and then a Sunday goes by and then I try to respond to the comments, then there's way too much. And then it's, sometimes when that has happened, I would be like, oh, there's too much comments. I don't want to respond anymore. But if I answer them, as they go or as they come, it's really not that bad.
okay, nice. And you had almost or a bit over 2 years off since your last fight. Uh, did you find that ring rust played much of a role? Like, did you find it affected your performance?
To be honest, I don't think it did. Just like what Dominic Cruz says, he doesn't believe in ring rust. Um, it's not just because I haven't fought in 2 years doesn't mean I haven't been training. I'm always training. I'm always training hard. So um, no, I feel like there weren't any ring rust.
And speaking of Dominic Cruz, what did you make of the Cejudo fight?
I don't know about you, but I felt like he was moving a lot more than he usually does. Almost like I don't know. He was moving a lot. I felt like Henry saw his strategy right away and chopped the legs and although I agree the stoppage might have been a bit too early because he was getting up,
Yeah.
I, in my opinion, Henry was winning the fight, and I also think that he would have won the fight if he did not stop, or if the ref did not stop the fight at that time.
Okay.
How about
Yeah,
yourself?
I agree. I think it's got stops pretty early, but I do think that Cejudo was doing a great job, and he definitely caught him with that knee. One thing I was thinking is, I don't know if you knew, but Dominic Cruz has been releasing like a bunch of videos on his footwork, breaking down all the aspects of it. And I was thinking like that's kind of a bit dangerous going into a fight, releasing all your strategies, because I feel like potentially Cejudo's camp maybe like picked it apart and they were able to kind of tell him how to exploit it. Is that something you ever worry about as someone who releases so much content on strategy?
I definitely believe it is a disadvantage, and I'm always actually asked the same question. Um, First, I feel like if anyone wants to study, my movement, they could just watch any of my previous fights, and there's no way I could, hide any of that or stop any of that. So if they want to get a clear picture of how I fight, they can already find that through my fights. Now with my YouTube channel, although I release lots of content, I'm that guy who imitates several fighters. Like I'll go into a sparring session and I'll be like, I'm going to only try like 7 of these 7 combos that's used by like Alexander Volkanovski, and I just do it for fun. So I'm always releasing all this content of me doing and trying all these different moves. So you really don't know which ones I'm going to use unless you just watch my fights. But then at the end of the day, if I wasn't releasing content and you watch my fights, you'd still get the same results.
Yeah, makes sense. One thing I really like about your content is how you'll break down a technique and then you'll show multiple clips of your sparring using the technique, using it successfully, using it unsuccessfully. and kind of saying what went wrong. You also broke down your fight. How long did it take you to break down your last fight before you posted that video?
It took me less than a day, like just a few hours, maybe an hour, maybe less to edit and everything, maybe a little bit longer, but to break it down, it was quite simple.
Do you do all your own editing?
I do, yeah.
Nice.
I mean,
And
I do my own editing, but I have my fiance who does the back end stuff and helps me with the aesthetics of the font size
okay,
and yeah.
nice. And I read in an interview that you actually your Instagram got taken down or something after you had responded to so many comments.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, they blocked it, and I couldn't respond to any comments for, I think it was like 7 days, and yeah.
Did they thought you were a bot or?
I mean, it's not confirmed what they thought, but my assumption was that uh, because I was responding to so many, and it's to be honest, it was a lot of the same replies, like thank you, brother, thank you so much for the support.
Yeah.
So it was very competitive. So maybe they thought I was some sort of bot, and then they just put a hold on my account.
Okay. And you have an online training program, the MMA Striker.
Mhm.
Could you tell me a bit about that and what that program kind of entails?
So it's a 19-chapter program, and it essentially summarizes everything that I believe is effective and everything that basically my best, techniques and strategies that I've learned throughout my 13, 14 years of martial arts training. Uh, just like my content, I include sparring footage to back up everything that I teach. It's primarily striking, wrestling, takedown defense, and then very fundamentals of jiu-jitsu. So that's why I call it the MMA striker, because it's primarily striking. And the striking is not like, although I have a Muay Thai background, I strike with a karate stance. I have a very wide and low stance, like an MMA stance versus a
Mhm.
Muay Thai stance. So that's another reason why I call it the MMA striker, because it's for those who are striking in MMA, meaning you have to worry about the takedowns. You have the option to go for the takedown if you want, etc.
And for your stance and your kind of more crouched and sideways stance, did you kind of develop that over time, or did you start out in Muay Thai with that more traditional square on up tall stance?
I did start with a very tall, narrow, weight shifted to my rear leg and light on the lead foot, super, super tight guard. Uh, I find I learn a lot from watching other fighters. So I used to watch Buakaw a lot. Everyone knows who he is. And, he just marches forward, he doesn't eat the shots. He blocks it with his gloves, but he just, charges forward, very light on the lead foot and just throws that left kick, left kick, left kick. I used to have that style. But then I found that, I mean, even if you're blocking with the gloves, it still hurts your head. You're still getting hit. You're still losing brain
Yeah.
cells. And then at that point, when I saw George St. Pierre fight, that's when I decided that I would change it up a bit and copy his style. He's very low, wide stance, and he moves in and out, in and out. And I literally just copied him, and then it just became my style.
Okay.
So I'd say I like to strike with Muay Thai weapons, but I have a defensive strategy like karate.
Was Muay Thai your first martial art?
Yes, it was.
Nice. How long ago did you start?
I started in 2007, I believe. So I was 15, about turning 16.
Okay. Was that at Awama?
It was at Awama, yeah.
Okay, nice.
And Crew
Yeah.
Jeff Harrison was one of my first coaches.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I used to be at Awama, and then I switched to New Era Combat Sports once they opened up. You also do like train and travel tour groups. Could you tell me a bit about that, where they are, and kind of just the details of those?
So usually I do a 2 week. I mean, I've only had two. I was supposed to have my third one, but it got canceled due to COVID-19. But what it is essentially I host a 2 week camp where I'll be teaching grappling, jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, wrestling. And it would be 2 times a day plus cardio every day. And it's just a group of passionate martial artists who gets together and train and hang out. Um, I've held it in Thailand and Bali so far. And those are great vacation destinations because the food is so cheap. Just the cost of living in general is very cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched actually one of your vlogs on the one in Bali. The place that you guys are staying looks so beautiful.
Yeah, it
Um,
was awesome place.
And where did you stay when you were in Thailand?
In Thailand, I was in Phuket.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Um, had you been to Thailand previously before that?
Yes, I've been to Thailand once before then. Now it's 3 times I've been to Thailand.
Okay, nice. Where did you train the first time you went?
I went to a gym called Kong Sita. It's
Okay,
actually, yeah, Kong Sita is actually it's the gym where I started my YouTube channel.
okay.
So I don't know if you heard of the Sean Fagan, the Muay Thai guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's actually a friend and mentor of mine, and he's the one who
Okay.
inspired me to start my channel. So I actually attended his first, training camp in Thailand back in 2016,
No way.
and I was very inspired by what he did. He lived in Thailand at the time. He didn't live in Thailand, but he was hosting camp, his first camp there, and I mean, he didn't work a regular job. He did what he loved, and he told me like, "Hey, you can do the same thing. Why don't you start your own channel?" And I'm like, I guess so. Sure, why not? And he actually let me use his camera to film my first few videos, and he's actually in my first 2 videos,
Okay.
and it just started from there.
Yeah, him and John Wayne Parr are who inspired me to go to Thailand the first time.
Awesome, awesome. John Parr is a very cool guy.
Yeah. He's another guy who like responds to all his followers. Like I've messaged him before and he got right back to me.
Oh,
Pretty
that's
cool
awesome.
guy. A couple of your students got tattoos of your logo on them while in the Bali training camp.
Uh-huh.
Uh, could you tell me a bit about what your logo means, like the meaning behind it?
So there's a square here, square here, square here, and basically it stands for multi-dimensional. So
Hmm.
we're in a very multi-dimensional sport, meaning there's various ways to work out. There's so many various techniques and combinations, and that's what it stands for. To be open-minded. There's no specific style. I'm always not only am I open to always learning, I'm always trying to learn different styles. I used to be very straightforward and close-minded with martial arts, and I would be like, Muay Thai is the only striking that's effective. You know, whoever trains Taekwondo, karate, Wing Chun, whatever other martial arts is not effective. But now, as I'm growing as a martial artist, I'm seeing that all martial arts work. It just depends on how good you're at it and who is the one using the martial arts.
Nice. When did you start to kind of adopt that new mindset of being more open to different styles?
I would say when I changed my style from Muay Waka style to more of a George St. Pierre style, I realized that you don't need to fight with a tight guard all the time. Your hands can drop sometimes. You can have a wide stance. And as I started getting more involved in MMA, that's when I realized that yeah, mixed martial arts is not just Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, and wrestling. It's any kind of striking you want in grappling, wrestling, judo, etc.
Nice. And before you went to TriStar, you were training uh, Barhaven. I forget what the new name
Yeah,
of it is.
Barhaven Martial Arts Center.
Barhaven Martial Arts Center. You're a trainer there as well, right? And
Mhm.
do you have a stake in that business? Like, are you involved in
No,
the?
I'm just purely an instructor there. The owner is Nick Castiglia and Mark Holst, and those two, along with crew Jeff Harrison, those two were my first coaches. And you know, I don't. It's not that I don't want to train a new era, but as you know, there are gym politics, and I don't want to get involved in any of that. So since I was already training there, I decided to just stay with them.
Makes sense. I actually had my first Muay Thai class ever at that location back when it was still an Oama branch, like at the grand
Mhm.
opening.
Mhm.
And it was Crew Jeff that taught that class. And then I think it
Oh,
was
that's
like
awesome.
4 or 5 months later, I got on a plane to Thailand, and then I just been loving Muay Thai ever since. And now I'm trying
That's
to
amazing.
transition a bit to MMA, but I'm kind of finding myself needing to adjust my style as well because I'm in that really tall Muay Thai, kind of like you're saying. The
Mhm. Mhm.
so yeah, it's interesting transition for sure because the two sports martial arts I do is wrestling and then Muay Thai, which are so different. One you're completely bent over, and then one
Yeah,
you're super tall. So I'm gonna have to try and find like a medium in between.
find that little balance. Yeah.
Yeah. Any recommendations you would give?
I mean, you're in the same boat as me, except you actually have real wrestling background. I would just try to continue using your Muay Thai weapons, but stay in your wrestling stance.
Hmm.
Right? You're in your wrestling stance, you strike with your roundhouse kicks, low kicks, Muay Thai. And if your opponent runs in forward at you, you're already in that low stance for that double leg shot. So one of my main reasons why I love the stance is because if I'm up against someone aggressive and he moves forward at you, I have my shot right there.
Yeah,
And I'd have to say that I guess I naturally just have that timing, or I mean, I drilled it a lot, but I have that timing for that takedown. And if they're not rushing forward at me, then I take my time.
I see. Another confusing thing for me is that I'm a left leg lead in Muay Thai and then a right leg lead in wrestling. So I'm having to adjust the stances, you too.
Me too. Actually, if you want to try it out, one of my favorite moves that people have caught on now is that because I'm a southpaw wrestler, even though I'm an orthodox striker, I'll shoot in southpaw stance. So one of my favorite moves actually to time the takedown is when my opponent's rushing forward at me, I'll back step into southpaw and then
Hmm.
shoot, or
Smart.
I'll throw a low kick, and as my low kick tracks back to my stance, if my partner is coming to counter, I take another step back to bait them in, and then I shoot for the double leg.
Hmm. Nice. I'll have to give that a try once quarantine's over and can get back to sparring and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, when do you think ONE FC will get back to uh, competition and whatnot?
Honestly, it's hard to say. It really depends on what everyone else is doing. I mean, it's great for UFC that they're holding events, holding private events, but I mean, I'm not saying it's irresponsible, but it can be dangerous for those who are at risk with COVID-19. I think it's better to play it safe. Like even for me personally, I'm not going out. I'm actually living with my mom right now, and I don't want to take any chance of getting my mother sick.
For sure.
And I think that's how they're going about it as well. And once lockdown lifts, everywhere, I'm sure they'll start holding their events.
Nice. Yeah, especially with UFC, like they do the water cutting, so their immune systems are a lot more compromised probably than at ONE
Exactly.
FC. So it's more of a risk. I saw you're doing some training with your mother. How long have you guys been in pads for?
It's been this Saturday will be a month and like a day or something, and I'm actually
Okay.
planning on releasing the 30-day challenge of her training. So stay tuned for that.
Cool, cool. Um, hmm. Um, Sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. What do you do for time management? Like you run your own camps, travel and state camps. You have your YouTube channel, you're a trainer, you're a fighter. How do you find time for everything?
um, I would say the main thing I prioritize. I mean, if I have a fight coming up, then it would be training. If I don't have a fight coming up, then my main priority is to make content. But I'm only able to do all this because I've been fortunate enough to have my fiance help me film everything. So she'll film like every sparring session I have. Um, she'll help me with all the back end things of the business. So the website, as I mentioned before, the aesthetics. So she actually helps a lot. She cooks for me. She does a lot for me. So
Nice. Do you guys have a date in mind, or has it been affected by the whole quarantine?
we were supposed to get married in 2021 of February, but I believe we might have to delay it just a bit because of COVID-19.
Hmm. Were you gonna do it in Ottawa or whereabouts?
Either Ottawa or Toronto. We're just doing a small one,
Okay,
very very small wedding.
nice. Well, that's about all the questions I had for you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
No worries.
Fun.
Hopefully we can train in the future sometime.
Definitely. I mean, if you're at New Era, I mean, if you're in Ottawa in general, I'm sure I'll bump into you.
Sweet.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Have a good day.
You too.